Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Bridges of Hope Live. Now, we're back to share with you more insights about addiction recovery in the Philippines because many Filipino families are not aware that there are many private treatment options. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bridges of Hope Live, episode 4. Um, Bridges of Hope Live is a project of Bridges of Hope Philippines. Our mission is to educate the public about substance use disorder and addiction treatment options in the Philippines. Bridges of Hope is the top innovator of addiction treatment in the Philippines, with more than with 7 branches in various locations in the country. Um, with this show, we hope to educate more people about addiction, its treatment, recovery, and mental health. I'm Dean Calleja, the Executive Director of Bridge of Hope Rizal. And with me today is the President of Bridges of Hope, Banjo Bernabe. And we have also the Chairman of Bridges of Hope. Hello there, Benjo. How are you?
Hi, Ali. I fixed this thing. Hello.
Hi, Kuya Benjo.
Hi,
And of
good
course, the
evening.
Chairman of Bridges of Hope, John T.
Good evening.
Hello,
Good evening
everyone.
to all
Good
the
evening, Dean. Good
Good
evening,
viewers.
evening.
Banjo.
So how was your day today, Kuya Benjo?
Well, I know. Good day. I personally came from the QC Center today. Was able to talk to a lot of the co-debs and some of the residents as well. And me and Kuya John had a good meeting this afternoon with also another interested team or company who also wants to come into the rehab industry as well. So it was a good day today.
I'm glad to hear that. How about you, Kuya John? How was your day?
I cannot complain as usual. This is what I do day in and day out. I've been doing this for quite some time, helping people out, and it gives me fulfillment daily. So I cannot complain. You, Dean, how are you?
Well, doing good. I'm very happy that we're having episode 4 with you, Kuya John, and you, Kuya Benjo. Episode 4 of Bridges of Hope Live. A lot of people have been waiting for this episode. They really want to hear what you have to say. Um, so, with so many people watching now, I just wanted to ask you straight from the founders' mouths, Kuya Benjo, what exactly is Bridges of Hope for those people who are not familiar with Bridges of Hope? What is Bridges of Hope, Kuya Benjo?
Well, Bridges of Hope is a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. No, we've Bridges of Hope has been here since 2012. We have 7 branches nationwide, as you mentioned. From the very first one was in BF Homes, Parañaque. The second one was in Quezon City. We have another one in Mandaue, Cebu, Angeles, Pampanga, Lipa, Batangas, Los Baños, Laguna, and also Binangon and Rizal. So up to date, we have 7 branches nationwide, and it's something that's I guess for me and Kuya John is very very fulfilling. No, so it's something that we really are very passionate about, and I think that's what also helps us wake up in the morning and do what we have to do because this gives us also inspiration. So it's something that helps lives. At the same time, we are also able to check our sobriety as well. So that's Bridges of Hope.
Thank you, Kuya Benjo. I also heard that Bridges of Hope is the leader in professionalizing addiction treatment in the country. Kuya John,
Yes.
Would you like to share your experience with so many people aware, with the growing awareness of addiction treatment in the country? When they hear about Bridges of Hope, they always want to hear what makes it special. Tell us first, how did Bridges of Hope start?
Well, for many who knows me, this can be lengthy. I mean, I can speak forever about my experiences, but let me cut it short. Bridges of Hope started when my parents and my wife, most especially, got tired of my behavior. In fact, in the beginning, I was in denial. In the beginning, I hated the intervention. But as they go into weeks and weeks go into months, I was in there going through the program. It made me realize a lot of things. It was actually an intervention coming from the higher power, from God. And I believe that because during my program, in the beginning, in the first phase of the program, I did not believe it. I did not really listen to anyone. But by the time I'm about to finish my program, it actually it all came together. And when I started to go out, I saw what my teachers inside in the program during my program were were educating me about. The things that we I would encounter when I'm out, and precisely why I came back and told my family I wanted to start an advocacy when it comes to addiction recovery and sustaining sobriety. So I came back. Of course, I could not forget the support while I was inside. I could not forget the support my family was given by my good friend Banjo. He practically took care of my family while I was inside the facility, and I could not thank him enough. So the best thing the best repayment, I guess, for the good deeds he has made was to ask him to do this with me, to do this together, and that was the best move, I guess, from then on forward. When we came, we uh, we did a lot of improvements. In the beginning, it was tough. It was very tough. There were a lot of hurdles, hiccups, challenges, but we were able to pull through. Um, it started in 2012, 2011, and then we took over around 2013 when I came back. But of course, it involves a lot of hard work. My passion was to really make a lasting recovery to everyone I know who's struggling um, in their addiction. Um, so that's how it started. It's the passion, the dedication, and the experience I've had inside played a very big role in sustaining the program, improving the program. That's why it has blossomed into 7 centers now.
And we're very proud of how Bridges of Hope has grown since 2012, 2013. Together with Kuya Benjo, you have manifested something that is continually helping people all across the country. Now, now is our chance to talk about certain things that many people have wanted to ask someone in authority but didn't know who to ask. There are many myths surrounding rehabilitation in the country: drug rehab, alcohol rehab, gambling rehab, all sorts of addiction rehabilitation. There are many myths surrounding that in the country. These myths keep people from inquiring, making a simple phone call to learn more about the treatment options for addiction. These myths also keep people from getting the right help for their loved ones, even if it's so clear that they need some kind of intervention. Kuya John,
Yes.
the myth of rehabilitation, private rehabilitation being expensive. What can you say about this myth?
Well, Expensive. Well, I'll tell you, it's reasonable coming from, if you really break it down. Bridges of Hope normally, um, charges per month. We don't ask for deposit. We don't ask for down payment. But if you really want to break it down to the detail, um, the 30 to 35,000 rate that we charge our clients is fairly reasonable. Why? Because if you break it down into 30 days, you're technically paying 1,000, 1,200 pesos per day. But that 1,200 pesos per day goes a long way. How? If you really, again, go to the detail, the 1,200 covers the air conditioned accommodation. It covers the treatment itself. It covers the four meals, the three big meals and meriendas. It covers also the 24/7 medical staff on board, the nurses and doctors. It covers also the psychological exam, the social work services we offer. It covers also the art materials, the books, the handbooks, the crayons, the papers, the pencils and ball pens they use inside, the laundry and haircut, the recovery coaches, the counseling. It covers so much more than what they pay for. And that's exactly why we're here. To, the advocacy, uh, the motivation to be an advocacy comes into play. We don't want it to be too expensive for people to shy away from. We want it to be reasonable so that people can we can reach out to people and give them the chance to get a formal education about addiction and so that they can sustain recovery.
Thank you, Kuya John. Would you like to add something, Kuya Benjo?
Yeah, well, aside from the price that's Kuya John has mentioned that has been is affordable. I think what we take pride in also in what we do is that the quality of the program that we give is what we're actually very proud of. No, as you all know, for those who have gone through the program, and the codeps who have continued to patronize the Bridge of Hope, you all know that Kuya John, I, together with you, ED Dean, and Kuya Carl, and all the franchisees as well, are very hands-on. No? So I think the quality of the program is actually is one of the things that make it something that really works as well, because we take pride in what we do. We're very passionate about what we do, and and I think that alone is such a big factor in the success of the residents. You know? The fact that we ourselves really try to sit down with the family, sit down with the co-debs, and not really just accept other people without really being passionate about it. Then again, the program comes out to be very successful. So I think that's one of the
That's
things
right.
that I myself personally can say that I'm very proud of when it comes to Bridges of Hope.
Thank you, Kuya Benjo. We'd like to take this chance to say hello to the people watching right now. My friend, Kuya Boyet Hernandez, our program director in Bridges of Hope Rizal. Social worker Jing, thank you for tuning in. Facilitator Alex, si Facilitator Ching, thank
Okay.
you. Facilitator Jing naman also from Bridges Rizal. We also have JR Pedere watching. Nikki Lu all the way from Cebu. Nice to see you here. Ate Gloria also and Ate Mayet. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned because this is a very interesting episode of Bridges of Hope Live. The second myth that I would like to bring up, many people also think that when people enter rehab, they are wasting their time. Kumbaga, naiisip nila parang nakapos yung buhay nila pag pinasok sa rehab. Kaya yung mga ibang pamilya, they hesitate to enter their loved one into rehab because akala nila mapopos yung buhay, nasasayang yung panahon sa loob. Marami silang misconceptions na ganon. So, Kuya John, can you please explain what is your point of view on this? That people think that entering someone into rehab is a waste of time.
Well, in the beginning, I'm going to speak from experience because I was the one causing trouble. I thought it was a waste of time when I first got in. Why? Because I was having fun. Don't get me wrong, but when I was misbehaving, doing my thing back in the day, um, I kind of liked the feeling. So it's a relative question. It's if it's a waste of time, yes, from coming from someone who is actually the one causing trouble, but it's not a waste of time, of course, for the people who are affected. So generally, the myth of waste of time is coming from people who does not believe in recovery, obviously. But let me tell you, if you really wanted to um, look further into detail, you would see it's just like having an education. A lot of people think that getting a degree is a waste of time, but when it comes down to it, when they finish college, that's where they see the importance of having a degree. Same thing with addiction. When you get formal intervention, you will see the benefit of it later, not in your active addiction. While being educated, you won't see the benefit. You will see it after.
I agree with you there, Kuya John. I'm sure Kuya Benjo has something to say too, looking at his face.
Well, actually, it's gaya nga ng sabi ni Kuya John, no. It's a waste of time. It's relative because when you actually look at it on the perspective of the family members, no, when there is someone who needs help and you don't act on it, then that's the waste of time. When you don't help somebody in your family or a friend or someone you know get help, professional help, that's a waste of time. So my answer to this is that if you don't get help, that's a waste of time because we all know that unless we get help, unless you get professional help, and until you go through a program, it's going to be very difficult for somebody to actually turn his life around. So why waste time when there are a lot of options like Bridges of Hope? So if again throwing it back, I guess it's very crucial that we we actually utilize time and get help as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kuya Benjo. One of the amazing things about Bridges of Hope is that when people call, someone actually answers the phone. And a lot of people think that it's a receptionist that answers the phone or some kind of admin person or a clerk, but they do not know that it is actually the directors who hold the inquiry phones. When they make an inquiry, they're talking directly to a director, a co-owner, a real decision maker when they make inquiries like that. So I have another myth to throw your way, guys. There is this myth going around, especially when you read in the forums about drug rehabilitation or basic addiction rehabilitation. The myth is that rehab does not work, that rehab is just a show, but it is not effective. Kuya John, do you think that rehab doesn't work?
Well, for me, if you're gonna ask me, well, my life has turned around because of rehab. So that question again goes back to relativity. It's a relative question again because if you really look that if you really go into detail again, is recovery. It involves many components. It involves not only the individual who's recovering from addiction, but it also involves families who the individual will go home to, who the individual will run to after the program. So if the myth says that it really doesn't work, again we go back to the answer of has everybody, all the components, were they ready to do their part in recovery? Because not only the individual, we're not talking about the individual, we're talking about the family as a whole, the support group. But of course, again, going back to your question, Bridges of Hope, like I said, with the reputation we have, with the professionals we have, um, we do what we can to make sure that they understand every single component, know their role, their duties and role in the mix of things, in the dynamics of recovery. Um, so basically, uh, going back, saying that it really doesn't work. Well, for me, it has worked, and for many others, that has turned their life around. In fact, if it doesn't work, then Bridges of Hope will just be one center, not seven.
That's very right, Kuya John. In fact, there are many rehabilitation success stories, including, of course, your story, Kuya John. Kuya Benjo, would you like to say something?
Yeah, well, actually, it's just like life, parang buhay lang yan, eh, di ba? Parang you'll never know, if it really works until you really have proof, no? And I think for me, avoiding all the technical terms, avoiding all the literature on rehabilitation, it's for me, it's as simple as seeing someone from when they came into the facility, how you see them, like ang dating sa akin, yung pagdating sinabi ng pamilya na itong anak ko wala nang pag-asa, sawang-sawa na ako, pagod na ako, etc. And to actually see them progress into someone who's back on track, to see them actually go back to work, go back to school, be a good father, be a good husband, wife. That alone is actually proof for me that it works. And a perfect example, hindi na tayo lalayo, if I may, Kuya John, no? A perfect example to all of this, to debunk this myth, is Kuya John himself. You know, I've been with the guy for actually one of the longest, among everybody, I think I've been with him for the longest time. Since we were grade school, we've been through everything. I've seen, his aggression. I've seen how he was during high school. He's, I see, I've seen him in college, and everything he's done in his life. I think I've practically been through at least most of the major things. No? And to actually see him um, up there talking to the family, the residents, and to actually hear things and words that I never imagined he would say, that for me is proof that it works. That for me is enough to say that we can do this. If it worked for Kuya John, then most likely it's gonna work for all of these people who need help as well. So that for me debunks that myth that it doesn't work. That alone is enough for me to do that.
Right.
Well, if I may add,
Intervention has its purpose. Go ahead, Kuya John.
if I may add to it, I forgot. Not all centers are the same. Okay? Not all centers are the same. There's a reason why Bridges of Hope is seven, because of how effective the program is, and people who are decision makers, like you mentioned, are good role models, the ones who sets examples for people to follow. So, I mean, Bridges of Hope has ballooned to seven for a reason. It's just not. It won't make sense if you balloon to seven if your program is not effective. So it really is something that you all or the audience should think about. Okay, why is this seven compared to just being one or two? There must be something good happening with Bridges of Hope, and that's where the role modelship comes in. That's where the setting good examples, the role modelship, and also the things that they get out of the program, which is what continued aftercare support, lifetime aftercare support. We also provide them with halfway homes they can run to anytime they want for free. I can house them for free. We can house them anytime they want. When they feel weak, they can run to any of our centers. That makes us different. That makes it work for the individual. It becomes a refuge to them.
Very well said, Kuya John. Our executive director in Bridges of Hope, Los Baños, just said that so many lives have been changed by going through the Bridges of Hope treatment programs. And Remedios Tongol just shared in our comment section, healing oneself is not wasting time, but rather a worthwhile investment. So this is a chance for renewal. It's a chance to pivot. It's a chance to renew someone's life. It's like a relaunch. I'd also like to say hello to Tita Gay, Heredia Pineda. Tita Gay, thank you for watching. Senior Program Director Jimo is, of course, here. Of course, he has no choice. He has to watch us.
Hmm.
Um, we have Tita Lisa Mapua from Bridges of Hope, Pampanga,
Oh, yeah.
also tuned in. And Chairman Ope Karating is also here. Thank you very much. We're going to another myth, and there are people who think that those who are in rehab are getting mistreated or getting hurt. Baka yung mga nakikita nila, yung mga rehab na parang preso ang itsura at nanonood lang sila ng TV buong araw, you know, there are public rehabs and there are private rehabs. Unfortunately, the myth that people get hurt or are mistreated inside rehabilitation centers in the Philippines continues to perpetuate. I'd like to hear about what you think about this, Kuya John.
Well, I go back to what I just said, or I said a while ago, a while back. Um, Again, going back to why is Bridges of Hope loved by many? The opposite of people saying that they're mistreated. Because we do things differently. We have people who are licensed, credentialed. We have people who actually really spend time to sit down with each individual resident we have inside. We give them time, we listen to them. So going back to your question, people are getting hurt. Never happens, because you know why? If it did happen, or if it does happen in this industry, or in with Bridges of Hope per se, we will never balloon to seven. We will never balloon to seven. And Bridges of Hope has a physical structure, physical center in each branch. Meaning, if we hurt someone, they can easily come back to us and say, and let us face the music. But because how we treat each and every person who comes into our doors with love and care and respect, you will see it. You will see how the reputation is slowly building Bridges of Hope, and slowly giving access to everyone all throughout the country. So again, to answer it in summary, it may in Bridges of Hope never happens. Only because we treat everyone with respect, love, and care, so that later on they can treat it as a refuge to run back to.
Okay. Kuya Benjo, is it true that people get hurt or mistreated inside rehabilitation centers?
Well, not in Bridges of Hope. I can only speak for Bridges of Hope. Going back to what Kuya John said earlier, I just wanted to add, residents, in fact, in Bridges of Hope, we call them family. And like anybody knows, we don't treat family like a commodity or a product or just a student. We take pride in what we do, and may malasakit kami not only sa residente, but sa pamilya din. Diba? We have to deliver what we promise, and hurting somebody and making them follow is not part of how we do things. Parang, ano lang yan eh, it's the same thing as, how people take leadership, no? Parang, some people follow because they're scared, but some people follow because they respect. So in our case, we would like to believe that the way we do things is that the reason why they follow and they believe in us is because they trust us, and they also feel that they're loved by previous people. So I think that myth again is debunked by the fact that again, um, it's not how it is. And evidence of that is that the family has grown so big, and now Bridges of Hope has not had any negative feedback, or according to this myth, we've never had some complaints because we just don't.
Okay. Thank you, Kuya Benjo. You know, Bridges of Hope, for those who are watching, Bridges of Hope has a zero tolerance policy towards violence, zero tolerance for bullying. So all the residents in the facilities are protected, not just from themselves, but also from others. We have guards and orderlies who are trained in safe takedown measures in case they need to use it. And our facilitators and counselors are also professionally trained, and they have all gone through the Bridges of Hope program themselves. Now, I come to a very sensitive myth, guys, and this might be hurtful to some people who have attended rehab or have loved ones in rehab, whether it's for drugs or alcohol or gambling or certain behavioral disorders. This myth is very painful to hear. They say that only people who are in a very unstable mental state enter rehabilitation programs. So this might be hurtful, but it is a myth that I need to ask you guys. Do only crazy people enter rehab, Kuya John?
That's an old myth. In fact, that has been floating since the early 1970s. Um, when the rehab environment was not known to many, meaning the culture and the practices were not really broadcasted, or was never transparent. But nowadays, rehab is actually an educational institution to know about yourself. Um, Technically, the rehab setting focuses on what you need to work on. The myth about the rehab, that loved ones is getting, has the mga loko-loko lang ang pumupunta sa rehab, mga siraulo, are the misinformed ones. That's the reason why Bridges of Hope would like to reach out to many all over the country by branching out um, to every corner of the Philippines to change that mindset. Because kung tutuusin, if you're really in a situation wherein someone in your family is misbehaving, is into their active addiction, okay, what would you do? Would you just bandage it yourself? It can cause more harm than good. Instead of giving them formal intervention, the odds are higher in making them recover from their active addiction. So technically, it's the misinformed who has that myth, and it doesn't apply to the generation now. For the most part, as we all know, we look up to the Western culture. May mga artista nga na, di ba, sa Western culture would bring themselves in to get the proper intervention. That's also the case here in the Philippines. Bridges of Hope is an institution, an educational institution that focuses more on what you need to work on as an individual to become highly efficient, highly productive individuals.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kuya John. How about you, Kuya Benjo?
Well,
What can you say about that myth?
well, basically, what I can say, I'd like to add to what Kuya John just mentioned. People who go to rehab are more categorized or better understood as people who need help. No, remember the gist of the program is not just putting them in a rehab facility and making sure that they watch TV, eat, and sleep. No, I mean, our program works in such a way that we find out why they resort to these coping mechanisms. So obviously, people who go to rehab are people who need help, and it's not something that they categorize as mental uh, mental problem or yung mga loko-loko nga. Basically, ito yung mga taong nangangailangan ng tulong who are lost, who are depressed, have so low self-esteem, low self-confidence. These are the people who look for something to make them happy, and unfortunately, they go the wrong path. No, and that's how what our mission is in Bridge to Hope, to get them back on track, to make sure that they address their problems, they face their fears, they resolve their issues, so that they don't have to find happiness in alcohol or drugs or whatever have you. So again, maybe for me, I think it would be better said that the residents who go to a rehab are people who really need help.
Very well said, Kuya Benjo. This is the reason why Bridges of Hope has its website. This is why we have our blogs. This is why we have this show. It's so that we can help banish these misconceptions. Because if the general public believe this misinformation, they may hesitate seeking help for their loved one. We want to spread awareness about addiction treatment, addiction recovery, and that is why we have the Bridges of Hope live show like this to reach as many people as possible who may not be aware of their addiction treatment options. So I'd like to take a chance to acknowledge Isa Smith. Thank you for watching. Thank you for saying that Bridges of Hope changed your life. I take that very seriously, and I appreciate that statement a lot. Though that short sentence really inspires us to continue what we're doing. Kuya John, Kuya Benjo, continue the good work that you're doing. Thank you, Dabi, Rodalyn Dewan, for tuning in. Thank you, Nurse M. Mendoza from Quezon City. And of course, Edu from Lipa. Thank you so much. We also, we still have more myths. Um, And before we continue, I'd like to remind everyone that they can type in their questions more than the comments and the greetings. If you have any questions that you would like us to say, you would like to ask Kuya John or Kuya Benjo, please feel free to type them in. There is another myth. This is related, of course, to the ones in the previous myths that we discussed. And I get this question a lot when people inquire. Hindi po kaya pag pumasok dyan sa Bridges of Hope ang anak ko, hindi kaya lalawak ang network niya? Hindi kaya mas marami siyang makikilalang supplier? Hindi kaya mas marami siyang makikilalang kajaming? So this is just real talk because these are real statements from people who have inquired about our services. So the myth is, nasa-strengthen yung network nila, lumalawak ang network nila, dumadami ang mga connection nila sa mga illegal na droga at mga illegal na aktibidades kapag pinasok sila sa rehab. Ano masasabi nyo dito, Kuya Benjo?
Well, alam mo, in Bridges of Hope, we create a family. No, as again, we acknowledge everybody as a family member, not just a patient X. No, and to be able to that myth, which a lot of codeps actually always ask when they do inquire, is something that I feel is it doesn't really happen because we actually control a lot of things in the facility, and having these outside thoughts or what we call war stories are not part of how we do things. No? And I guess making sure that our residents are properly given a proper program, quality program, it actually does not deviate to something like networking like this. So I think those are the myths that most commonly co-deps or the family members would usually ask, or because yun nga ang kanilang mga common questions. So, but I always explain to the family members that this is something that does not happen in the facility.
If I may add to it, Dean, that's really, I stand firm and support what Kuya Benjo has just said. But to add to it, yung myth na, you know, magkakaroon silang mas malawak na network. Obviously, they're getting it from experience, meaning once upon a time, maybe they have put their loved one in a facility, and then he relapsed, and then started to do drugs with people who he was with, who was people who he got acquainted with inside the center. That's why it's very important for families to know to pick and choose the right one for their loved ones. It's very important, it's crucial for the family to choose a well reputable center. Why? Because these things will surely happen if they did not do their homework. Okay, not all centers are the same. Not all centers have the same advocacy, belief, have the same program. Not all directors and owners and decision makers are passionate about it. So again, that's where we all bridges of hope come in. The passion, the dedication, the structure, the reputation are all um, in tune. So again, it really matters for families to really do their homework to make sure that they're picking the right reputable facility for their loved ones because it matters.
Very well said. You know, rehab is not just being inside. Of course, kailangan mong halongkatin yung nakaraan para
Yeah.
maintindihan paano sila nakarating sa puntong ito. Pero a big part of rehab is planning for the future. Paano
Yeah.
sila babawi sa mga nasaktan nila? Paano sila magiging financially independent? Paano nila tutulungan ang mga pamilya nila na nasaktan nila in the past? I would say 80% of rehabilitation is actually truly planning for the future. And part of that is developing the strength of character to say no to their old habits and to say no to their old life.
Mhm.
So the rules and the facilitators who are there are meant to inspire them. There are a lot of rules inside rehab, but all these rules are meant to help the person recover as quickly and as strongly as possible. Which
Mm,
brings me to the next myth, Kuya John and Kuya Benjo.
yes.
There is always this myth that people get worse. Their condition worsens in rehab kasi ang kasama nila doon, kasama nilang suffering from the same substance use disorder or the
Yes.
same behavioral disorder. So
Yeah.
there is this belief that when you put them together with people who are also suffering from addiction, substance use disorder, or certain behavioral disorders, is that their condition will worsen. Please dispel this myth, Kuya John.
Okay. Um, Parang sinasabi ng myth na yan, it will get worse again. Obviously, they're speaking from an experience or a bad experience coming from a different center. That's the reason why we have a strong aftercare. We have a strong program structure, and also we try to win our residents before they even go home to their families. We build a relationship with them so that later on they don't have to run back to old friends, people who will influence them to do bad things. Because we have won their hearts, we have won their trust, we have won their respect. So again, that's what we have again um, firmly implemented in the center. There's a structure that we follow. There's also the things that we do that's really different from the rest of them out there. We have a relationship with each one of them before they even go back to their real families, so that they can treat us as a family they can run back to.
Thank you, Kuya John. How about you, Kuya Benjo? Do people get more sick or do their conditions worsen when they're sent into official rehabilitation centers?
Well, it's all about the quality of the program. No, to add to what Kuya John said, quality of the program is very important. And again, we take pride in what we do in Bridges of Hope. No, ako nga, like ko kinukwento sa lahat, you know, my work in Bridges of Hope, I've never worked this passionate about something, and I take pride in what I do in Bridges of Hope because I see that one, it works. Two, it helps so many people. Three, not only helps the resident or the patient, it also helps the family member. Remember, when we help an individual who rehab, they get their lives back on track. You don't only help that person, you help the whole family. You help the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the husband, the wife, the kids, and that's for me is something that's priceless. It's so rewarding and that's why I think me, Kuya John, and everybody who's connected with Bridge of Hope continues to do what we're doing. To add to that also, we create a life plan. It's not just a program getting help and fixing your problems, but when you go out there, we help you create a life plan wherein we will help you find a job, go back to work, go back to school, you relive or you fix the relationship with people who have you have hurt in the past. And that for me, is again proof that, they don't get worse. It's proof that it works. The quality of the program, Bridges of Hope, works, and obviously they don't get any sick.
I agree with you. There is an eighth myth that Kuya Carlo Bernabe mentioned in the comments. He
What?
said, once an addict, always an addict. Once a gambler, always a gambler. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Is that true, Kuya John?
Actually, that's a good question that is thrown to me almost every day. Okay, that question is something that we all have to face. An addict has that addictive component with him for a lifetime. That's the reason why we at Bridges of Hope have a very strong aftercare program we implement, because prevention is much better than cure. So meaning, what we do is we prevent people from becoming an active addict, getting into that active addiction cycle. Okay. So an alcoholic guy can easily fall back into alcoholism because the environment does not change, especially here in the Philippines. The environment, it will take maybe, um, oh no, I do not want to sound negative, but I cannot change the environment we are in this country. We will easily fall if we don't have a strong aftercare program. So again, that myth of an addict will always be an addict, an alcoholic will always be an alcoholic. And the answer is yes. That's why we have programs to prevent it from happening again.
Thank you, Kuya John. How about you, Kuya Benjo? Will an addict always be an addict forever and ever? Amen.
Alam mo,
Amen.
we've learned, no, we've gone through a lot of courses and learnings, no, that addiction is actually a chronic disease. No? It's a chronic disease, meaning it's gonna be there for the long haul, no. And that's why in Bridges of Hope, we just don't take you away or get you away from the drugs or get you from alcohol and put you in a center. The misconception of a lot of people is that when you go through rehab, o ilalayo mo lang siya doon sa drugs. Ilalagay mo muna siya dyan sa facility, ilalayo mo muna siya. Pagkatapos nun, nalayo na siya ng isang taon, tsaka mo siya ilalabas, okay na yan. That's not true. The addiction can be, it will be there, but if you don't teach him or give him the proper tools, or you don't give him the right processing, the right decision making, the proper behavior, the right way of thinking, then he will just go back. So
That's
again, going back to that myth, there's some truth in that. But if you're properly equipped, if you're properly ika nga sa atin, pag programado ng Bridges of Hope, then the chances are you won't go back to that life.
That's true, Kuya Benjo. Sometimes when I get inquiries, they expect that rehabilitation is a cure. We have to explain to them, and I'd like to take this chance to explain to our audience right now. There is such a thing officially, medically, as substance use disorder. It is a disorder and it needs to be treated. Just like when you have a headache, you take something to ease the pain. When you have diabetes, you change your diet, you change your lifestyle, and you take some medicine too. Addiction is the same thing. There is no cure, but it can be treated and it can be managed. If it has to be treated and managed for the rest of your life, then that's the way it has to be. Similarly, diabetes is the same way. There is no cure for diabetes, but it can be treated and managed. And it can be treated and managed for the rest of your life if it needs to be. So there is a question also that I need to ask you guys. Um, what is the rate of relapse that Bridges of Hope has experienced? Does your aftercare program help at all? How successful is Bridges of Hope compared to other rehabilitation centers in the country? Kuya John, what do you think? What can you say about
Well,
that?
that's a good question. Again, being thrown to us almost every day by families who are doing their homework and finding the right center for their loved ones. Kuya Dean, let me tell you, the success rate of the center really is a again relative question. Um, day in and day out, we teach them good things inside while they're in the program. When they first when an individual gets admitted into the program, they are taught good things from day one until the time that they see their family. Okay, so for the most part, there's a lot of realization while you're in the program. Okay, now when they start to go out and we send them off to their families, there are rules in place that they need to follow. Okay? And of course, to for us to be able to make them follow rules, we need the support of the family, Kuya Dean and Kuya Benjo, and everybody who's listening. We teach them good things in the center. Now comes the part of the family wherein we turn them over to them. And there are rules in place, and we need their help to implement these rules outside of the center. Okay? For it to be 100% foolproof, for it to work, they need to act like kuyas and ates outside of the center. They need to be firm. The families need to be firm to their loved ones, or else it will fail. Okay. So again, the component, the family component, is very important when they start going out. So the myth, your question, is how effective, how is Bridges of Hope successful? The success rate. I will tell you now, those families who are firm, who are straightforward, who does not sugarcoat, who cooperates, okay, who communicates with us, okay, it's 1,000 to 100,000 to 1,000,000% successful. But if the families start to shy away from us, start covering up and sugarcoating, and not following the rules that we've put in place, it will definitely fail. Okay. So again, for the most part, you will see our aftercare group, our completionists, who are most of them are now signed in and watching us. These are the people who have good, firm family support. These people that are watching us right now, people who have completed the program, people who has um, sustained and made that big decision to sustain recovery, has a good support. That's why it's being sustained. That's why it's working.
Thank you, Kuya John. Kuya Benjo, would you like to add something?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate kung ano yung sinabi ni Kuya John, no, na alam mo, as long as you trust the program, as long as you follow our recommendations, as long as family support is there, then there's really no chance for it to fail. You know? That's basically the formula. The only the times that I see and I know that um, it does not work as planned was because there was no family support. You know, also yung pamilya, pinabayaan na lang din yung residente. Complete na siya, pero pinabayaan lang din. Bumalik na sa pagiging spoiled, bumalik sa pagiging enabler. So, with those factors, it's really going to be tough on the patients or the residents. No, so again, I just like to reiterate: as long as you follow our recommendations or trust the program, what we give you, trust Bridges of Hope, and then be very active in the aftercare, there's really no chance of failing.
Thank you, Kuya Benjo. Bridges of Hope, we use the word family a lot. And that's not just some kind of corporate term that we use. We really eat together, we work together, we play together. The Bridges of Hope family includes the facilitators, the residents, and of course, we always involve real biological families of the residents that we are treating. We cannot treat an individual unless we include the family. Their lives with their family is the greatest influence on how successful their recovery will be. I would like to say hello to my classmate, JJ Romabiles. Tita Cherry Lino, thank you for tuning in. Um, Facilitator Dan Belisario, formerly of the U.S. Navy, who's now with Bridges of Hope Rizal. Doctora Babes Manalo is also with us. Thank you for your comments. Ian from Pampanga, Bernard from Lipa, June Budla, thank you for your comments. Raymond Bastos from Cebu, thank you very much for your support and your comments. Kuya John, Kuya Benjo, the journey of Bridges of Hope is still continuing. You know, they always say it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. So it's the journey is the most important thing, and we try to do it as light as we possibly can. You know, times are tough. Times are tough. COVID-19 quarantine is continuing, but it seems like people who are suffering from addiction, you know, their suffering is being amplified together with their families. Maraming lumitaw na closet alcoholics. Maraming lumitaw na closet gamblers and closet drug addicts because during quarantine, hindi nila makuha yung supply nila. So we were getting calls left and right from families asking about our services. Kuya John and Kuya Benjo, how did you manage to put up 7 facilities in a span of 6 years? How did you manage to do that? Was it because of professional management? Was it your pleasing personality? Was it because you were meeting the right demand? Or was it because you were working with the right people? Or all of the above?
Sino na? Ikaw ako. Okay.
I can. Okay. Well, that question is, these are good questions you're throwing at us. And basically, this is coming from the experience we've had in the years we've run the center. It's combination of all you've mentioned, the passion, the dedication, and also because of the reputation we've had. Never took advantage of people. We treat them with respect, utmost respect and care and love, and it magnifies to many, to their families, and then their extended families, and to their friends. And then when they, of course, word of mouth plays a very important factor. Again, if someone is really would like to blindly pick and choose a center, naturally you go for something that has a good reputation, and good reputation stems from, of course, the foundation of love, care, and respect.
Beautiful, Kuya John. Kuya Benjo,
Um, you know, it's a combination of a lot of things, and you know, like anything, someone, I think one of the most important parts of the whole equation is you love what you're doing. Um, I think personally, as I mentioned earlier, me and Kuya John has gone through so many businesses, ventures, you know, and this is actually something that I really fell in love with, and because I think if you're passionate about what you do, no matter how hard things are, no matter how stressful, because you're dealing with lives, no matter how how there will be days that it doesn't go your way. As long as you have the heart uh, in what you're doing, I think you can't go wrong. And that's again going back to what I'm very very attached to, and that what makes me come back and continue to share my life with Bridges of Hope. Aside from my family support, it gives me that fulfillment, and I think that's why it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So you know, to everybody out there who will enter into things like these, I think having a heart in what you're doing is very crucial.
Thank you, Kuya Benjo. I'd like to take this chance with people listening now. Bridges of Hope is a medical facility. We get our accreditation from the Accreditation
You're lagging, Dean. I don't. Okay.
Department of Health.
Okay.
And we are very proud to be consistently accredited by the Department of Health on all aspects. And I think inangat talaga ng Bridges of Hope ang antas ng rehabilitation sa Pilipinas. Kaya congratulations Kuya John, congratulations Kuya Benjo. Also this chance to say thank you to all our health workers included in the roles of Bridges of Hope. You are our frontliners. Not just our nurses, not just our doctors, our facilitators and our counselors also. We also have our guards. There's a nice picture of all of us during our last Christmas party. Pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, pre-quarantine. This is us. This is Bridges of Hope. So this is a jeans themed party. So we're not like stuck in the 70s or anything like that. So as our family keeps growing, we hope to be able to help as many other individuals as possible. We hope to be able to work with families to help their loved ones recover. We are very proud to be doing what we are doing. Again, thank you to all the frontliners, all the facilitators, all the program directors, all the guards, all the nurses, all the executive directors of Bridges of Hope. Maraming salamat sa inyo. We're proud of you and we appreciate you a lot. Closing words. I'll go with Kuya Benjo first this time. Parting shots.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all the people who have played a part uh, with Bridges of Hope. No, again, let me just reiterate. Let me just repeat what you said. No, I mean, I think I or no one can grow a family on their own or by themselves. No, and I'd like to especially mention a lot of people who played an important part in the recovery of our residents, no, from the nurses, from our guards, to our facilitators, our program directors, to the admin staff, to all our doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. All of these people are spiritual advisors, our pastors, our priests, and everybody who has contributed to Bridges of Hope. You know, the success of Bridges of Hope is because of you people like you, people who care for what they do, people who have passion in what they do, people who actually, you know, um, want to help lives. And I'm very thankful for all of the big family of Bridges of Hope. Of course, I'd like to also thank the people or the codeps, the family members who have trusted Bridges of Hope, or those who continue to believe and trust that to trust their lives and the lives of their family members to us. We also owe you a lot because of you. A lot of people have followed. A lot of people have seen that we're trustworthy. Of course, our family is also very very important. Special mention to my family, to John's family, of course, everybody's family that has also shared us with other people. We have extended family, not only to our blood related family, but for me, my family has been getting bigger and bigger because, the co-deps, our nutritionists, our facilitators, all of these have become part of my family as well. So, I'd like to thank everybody who has trusted us. Of course, I'd like to thank all my partners, Kuya John, my wife, Tiggy, Rob, Dean, Chu, everybody, Carlo, everybody, Kat, who has been part of Bridges of Hope and has contributed their lives in making this a very big fulfillment for all of us. No? So, maraming maraming salamat, and to those who know people who need help, huwag po kayo magkatubiling tumawag, and dyan yata yung ating phone numbers. No? Shameless plug, but sometimes you just don't know that, you know, the people, a person right beside you needs help. So, um, do trust us, give us a chance to also, be able to help your family as well. So, maraming maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Kuya Benjo. And now, Chairman John T., you have the floor for your parting
Thank
remarks.
thank you. I will make this brief and sweet. Um, my parting words is I'm sure you all noticed that I'm wearing a mask. Um, and the reason why I do this is to show an example again, to be a role model to all of you, our listeners, our viewers. The pandemic is quite serious out there, and we want to send a message out there to everyone that you really have to protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, everybody around you by wearing a mask. Going back to parting words as the chairman of Bridges of Hope, I stand to what I believe in. I will continue to be passionate about recovery. I will continue to care, love, and respect everyone who's going through tough times. I'm willing to help them um, and guide them every step of the way through this journey. The journey is tough. Let me tell you, I'll be candidly frank with you, with each and every one of you. It will, the journey is tough, but the rewards outweigh the difficulties. And I'm speaking from experience, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. I have gone through so much in life, and I have built my recovery capital the way I have because I firmly believe it. Um, my advice to each and every one of the viewers out there and the ones that continue to believe in Bridges of Hope is to stand steadfast, to be firm, to hold on to your sobriety and learn how to reach out and ask for help because that's the only way we can. Again, we don't read minds. That's the only way we can come in and help um, everyone is for you to reach out and tell us that you need help. Again, our doors are open. We have branches all over the Philippines for a reason. We have branches in Angeles, Pampanga. We have branches in Mandaue, Cebu. We have a branch in Binangonan. We have a branch in Quezon City. We have a branch in Los Baños. We have a branch in Lipa, and we have a branch in Parañaque for a reason, strategically, for you to run to, so that you will have access 24/7 to centers that are willing to embrace and welcome you in this journey. So again, I would like to end it with again thanking everyone, our frontliners, our directors, our facilitators, our nurses, our doctors, our guards, our marshals, our orderly, our admin staff. We'd like to thank also the parents, the families who continue to believe in in our program, to continue to believe in the Bridges of Hope. So Again, good evening, and thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. Dean, why did you
Thank
wear a
you
mask?
very much, Kuya John. Thank you very much. Um, if
Oh,
there's nothing else,
can I add something quickly? Can I add something quickly?
sure, go ahead.
We would like to, again, shameless plug. I'd like to emphasize that Bridges of Hope is the only facility that has ready available quarantine rooms and facilities. So we continue to admit people who need help. So again, we're the only center that offers quarantine rooms and facilities readily available to the public
For COVID protection, right?
for COVID protection. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Kuya John, because we wouldn't want any others to be infected with COVID-19. That's why the quarantine rooms are there so that any new resident coming in for treatment can be put in a quarantine room. So they are separate from the general population in case, just in case, they may have some kind of communicable disease, hepatitis, tuberculosis, COVID-19. They are protected. The general population is protected. Everyone in the facility is protected. Kuya
Yes.
Benjo, you said you
Yeah,
wanted to add something as well.
yeah. I just forgot to mention and also thank our franchisees. No, the group of Ray Basto, Chemin, and Paul in Cebu, Lisa Mapua in Pampanga, Angeles. Of course, I'd like to also thank Bernard Maruel of
Lipa. Hello?
He's coming. It's fading out.
Chris and Jegs Reyes. Sino pa? May kulang pa ba? Of course, Quezon City, Dean Calleja, Carlo, and Rizal. All of you know, all of you have believed in our mission, and those who franchise and believe that by doing their part, they're also making this better. I'd like to say thank you to all our franchisees as well.
And with that, thank you very much, Kuya Benjo Bernabe, President of Bridges of Hope. Thank you very much, Chairman John T. Bridges of Hope, thanks you very much. Bridges of Hope is the premier substance use and behavioral disorder treatment center in the country. And in order of appearance, we have facilities in BF Homes Parañaque, Quezon City, Mandaue City, Cebu, Angeles City, Pampanga, Lipa City, Batangas, Binangonan, Rizal, and Los Baños, Laguna. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in with us tonight. Thank you to our special guests, Chairman John T., President Benjo Bernabe, to all of you who tuned in, thank you for joining us in episode 4 of Bridges of Hope Live. We hope you will also join us for episode 5 in the first week of October. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Stay safe and protected. Always take care of one another. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.